Hare Krishna, this morning we will discuss the last verse of the 17th chapter of the first canto. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Etam Bhutano Bhavoyam Abhimanyo Suto Nripaha Yasya Palayataksanim Suyam Satraya Dikshita. Word for word translation. Itam Bhuta, being thus, Anubhava, experience, I am of this Abhimanyu Suta, the son of Abhimanyu, Nripaha, the king, Yasya, whose, Palayata, on account of his ruling, Kshanim, on the earth, Shuyam, you all, Satraya, in performing sacrifices, Dikshitaha, initiated. Translation. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu, is so experienced that by dint of his expert administration and patronage, it has been impossible for you to perform a sacrifice such as this. Purport. The Brahmins and the sannyasis are expert in the spiritual advancement of society, whereas the Kshatriyas or administrators are expert in the material peace and prosperity of human society. All of them are the pillars of happiness, and therefore they are meant for full cooperation for common welfare. Maharaj Pariksit was experienced enough to drive away Kali from his field of activities and thereby make the state receptive to spiritual enlightenment. If the common people are not receptive, it is very difficult to impress upon them the necessity of spiritual enlightenment. Austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, the basic principles of religion, prepare the ground for the reception of advancement in spiritual knowledge, and Maharaj Pariksit made this favorable condition possible. Thus the rishis of Naimisaranya were able to perform the sacrifices for 1,000 years. In other words, without state support, no doctrines of philosophy or religious principles can progressively advance. There should be complete cooperation between the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas for this common good. Even up to Maharaj Asoka, the same spirit was prevailing. Lord Buddha was sufficiently supported by King Ashoka, and thus this particular cult of knowledge was spread all over the world. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 7th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Punishment and Reward of Kali. So, Itam Bhutanubhavoyam Abhimanyu Sutun Ipaha Yasya Palayataksanim Shuyam Satraya Dikshitaha. Maharaj Pariksit, the son of Abhimanyu, is so experienced that by dint of his expert administration and patronage, it has been impossible for you to perform a sacrifice such as this. Om Ajnanatimandasya Jnanjana Shlaka Chakshanmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam yena Bhutale. Svam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. Vandeham Shiyuda Padkamalam Shivam Vaishnavam Sha. Shri Rupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivan Sadvaitam Savdutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakanalita Shivishakam Vitam Sha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Tyatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Satadevi Pranamama Haripriye Pankha Kalpta Visha Kripa Sindhavisa Patiyam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini. Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachaya Desatarani. So here Sutta Goswami is speaking. He's speaking to the sages of Nami Saranya. That we are in the first canto of the Bhagavatam. The speaking of the Bhagavatam by Sukadev Goswami starts in the beginning of the second canto. Now Sutta Goswami has introduced all the great personalities, especially Maharaj Parikshit, who in the next chapter we will have the prelude to the Bhagavatam, the cause of the speaking of the Bhagavatam, which lies also with Maharaj Parikshit. So Sutta Goswami is speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya. What are these sages doing? They are performing a sacrifice for 1,000 years. 4,000 years. Why are they? What's the purpose of their sacrifice? Why are they performing this sacrifice? So in the Bhagavatam, in the third chapter, we heard Krishna Sva Dhammopagate Dharma Jnana Pipisaha Kalanashtati Shamme Shapurnarko Dunodita. So just after the parts of Lord Krishna, Krishna left accompanied with religion, knowledge, etc. So after the disappearance of Lord Krishna, Kali Yuga starts. And people will be influenced by Kali. So the sages were concerned, what can we do for the influence of Kali is coming. Kali Yuga is coming. What can we do? They decide to perform a sacrifice for the benefit of the people, because Krishna had left the planet and Kali had entered. These sages, they were Trikalagya, they could see past, present, and future. So we have heard before that when the Pandavas heard, but Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was very happy when Maharaj Parikshit was born a qualified successor. But then many years later, Krishna left this planet, and when Yudhishthira Maharaj heard, and the Pandavas heard that Krishna left the planet, immediately they concluded, what is the purpose of our lives? Now Krishna had gone. And they decided for Mahaprasthana. Mahaprasthana means walking to the north until you fall dead. And all the Pandavas, Draupadi, they start to walk to the north. That first Draupadi fell dead, then Sahadev left his body, Nakula left his body, and then Arjuna fell. And Yudhishthira Maharaj continued walking, and he came to the Himalayas, to the high in the Himalayas. And there was an heavily airplane waiting for him to bring him to Indraloka, to the heavens. But Maharaj Yudhishthira was not interested. He didn't want to go. Yet he had a dog with him. That this dog on the way took shelter of him, and he had still the Kshatriya mood, and he said, "No, I will not go into this heavenly airplane unless this dog can go with me, because he took shelter of me." Of course, then the dog revealed that he was Lord Shiva. And he entered the airplane and went to the heavens. This is at the end of the Mahabharata. There are many versions of this that we have to be careful with. The Krishna Dharma's version, maybe another version of the Mahabharata. But then Yudhishthira Maharaj arrives in heaven, and there he's asking, he sees Duryodhana enjoying there with heavily nectar that all the Kshatriyas are enjoying in heaven. And Yudhishthira Maharaj said, "Where are the Pandavas?" And they told him they have gone to hell. So Yudhishthira Maharaj heard they were going to hell, and they went to hell for some little thing they had done in their lives, but they were immediately back. And then they met Krishna, and they said, and Yudhishthira Maharaj said to Krishna, what are we doing here? And Krishna said, "Yes, let's go to the next universe to perform the drama again." These are eternal associates of Krishna. But when Yudhishthira Maharaj heard Krishna has left the planet, they were walking to the north without stopping. But here, now we have here Parikshit. Parikshit is the son of Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is the son of Subhadra, the sister of Krishna, who was married with Arjuna. Is the grandson of Arjuna, Maharaj Parikshit. And we have heard before in previous chapters that Ashvatham, he killed the sons of Draupadi, the sons of the Pandavas were all killed. And Ashvatham wanted also to kill Maharaj Parikshit in the womb of Uttara. Uttara the wife of Abhimanyu, that but Krishna protected Maharaj Pariksit. Krishna neutralized the Brahmastra. So now we see Maharaj Pariksit. Maharaj Pariksit, who in this chapter was, he saw Sudra, a coward man, who was dressed as a king, beating a cow, and he immediately took action. That he wanted to kill him, but then the Sudra, he gave up his royal dress and surrendered to the king. My Pariksit said, okay, I will not kill you, but you cannot stay in my kingdom. But then Kali said, I need a place to stay. And Maharaj Pariksit said, you can stay where there is gold and prostitution. Of course, at that time, gambling and prostitution, but that was not there in his kingdom at that time. So he cheated Kali in some sense. But this is was the duty of the Brahmins, the sannyasis, and also the Kshatriyas, to protect society and make a peaceful society. And Prabhupada explains in the purport, peaceful society is a society where these sinful actions, which causes lust, anger, greed, and so on, are forbidden. So to give up gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, that was the standard. And the Kshatriyas were looking that everyone was looking after, that everyone was following this and were engaged in their occupational duty, not and that they were not engaged in these sinful activities. And because that's important, if you have such a society where that is given up, then the society becomes peaceful. Peace of mind. Internal peace is only possible when one stops these sinful activities. If you do these sinful activities, always mental problems, guaranteed. Always in anxiety. So this is explained in the Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavad Gita, that Bhogashvara Prasaktanam Taya Parita Shetasam. That when one becomes attached to sense enjoyment, that then Taya Parita Shetasam, that means then one becomes bewildered in mind. And the making of spiritual advancement is not possible. But especially sinful activities are very disturbing. That takes away all your peace. And so the society was fixed on that goal, to give the opportunity to everyone to make spiritual advancement. But today's society is a society in ignorance. No one knows what their real identity is. No one knows practically what spiritual advancement means. And they are expert in engaging everyone in these four sinful activities. That alcohol you can drink everywhere, or eating meat. There's a standard of this sinful society. Therefore, there is no question of peace, always wars, strife, so cheating, it's going on all levels. But that was not the case in the Vedic society. It was a peaceful society, that there were no big worries. Everyone gets free education provided by the Brahmins. Everyone is protected by the Kshatriyas. That everything what one's need is given by the Vaishyas. That and the Sudras are assisting. It was a peaceful society. That because Prabhupada explains it in the purport as follows: that this austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, the following of these basic principles, the four related principles, it prepares the ground for the reception of advancement in spiritual knowledge. If you don't follow these basic principles, you are not receptive for spiritual knowledge. That because you will become attached, more and more attached to material things, and that bewilder your mind. Like Prabhupada, he was preaching to those who were receptive. In America, there were the hippies. They were already detached from material life. They had certain addictions, true, but by the mercy of Prabhupada, they became attracted, and they did not understand in the beginning. But gradually, they become purified by the practice, and they started to understand the spiritual knowledge. That receptivity, we see also many times vegetarians, they become interested in spirituality, many of them, or yoga practitioners, who are following certain principles, are vegetarian and so on, they may also become interested. But the growth of people cannot understand this knowledge, because spiritual knowledge can only be understood when one becomes non-envious, that when one surrenders to a spiritual master. It is otherwise not possible. But some way or another, we attract people to the chanting, and because they are chanting, then they're hearing from lectures from devotees, and they hear lectures, right? They become interested, and they inquire, and they get prasad, they become a little purified, they come to our programs, they hear the holy name, and by that they are making spiritual advancement, little by little, but it takes a while. That we see here, Prabhupada he clarifies what the verse says. The verse says, so by Maharaj Parikshit's rule, society became peaceful, and therefore the sages of Namisaranya, they could perform this 1,000-year sacrifice. Otherwise, that would not be allowed in society. You need the support of the state, and this support is now not there in the entire world. Maybe in India there is some support politically, but otherwise no support to be religious. It's going to the other side. irreligion, atheism in the form of a society which is not based on any religion, that all religious signs must go out of all official places, that we have seen that so no state support for religion, and that we see also in politics, there's political parties based on religion, as you don't rarely find it in the Western world, that it's all declining, going backwards. But yes, that because if we follow these regulative principles, and then we can start practicing spiritual life. So that's a basic point here. A society based on the principles of religion, where everyone cooperates and one creates a peaceful atmosphere. But we can also create that in our temples. That if we cooperate with each other and hear the Bhagavatam every day and trying to implement the principles in our lives, and in our relationships we integrate this, then we create an Vaikuntha atmosphere. What is Vaikuntha atmosphere? Vaikuntha atmosphere is an atmosphere based on love for Krishna and not based on envy. That material world is based on envy, and envy is the basic principle behind the material world. That's why we are here. That will also clarify it, like in the 8th canto. In the 8th canto, you have the demigods and the demons. They are working together. They make a truce and they work together with the same purpose. They are going to churn the milk ocean, or Atsvetadvip, to churn out the nectar of immortality. If they take that nectar of immortality, they become immortal. So the demons wanted that, and the demigods wanted that. But the demigods, they had a different outlook than the demons. That's and that is interesting. The outlook of the demigods, or the devotees, during the churning of the milk ocean was one of dependence on the Supreme Lord. Because in the 8th canto we will hear that the demigods were losing their kingdom, being cursed by Durvasa Muni. And when they approached the Supreme Lord for help, the Lord asked them to churn the milk of ocean to retrieve the nectar. So, but the demigods, they followed that advice of the Supreme Lord. And Lord Vishnu also asked the demigods to tolerate and not be envious, which also the demigods followed. But the demons, they were churning the milk of ocean with the same intention. They wanted to get the nectar and become immortal, but they had a different outlook. They were greedy, they were envious, they were proud, and they were dependent on their own strength and not on the blessings of the Lord. What was the result? That they put in the same effort, but finally the demigods got the nectar of immortality, and the demons did not get anything done, just their labor. And that is a great lesson to learn. If we act without Krishna consciousness, the only thing we get is our own labor and our own suffering. That's the result. But if we act for the Supreme Lord, that without envy we are tolerant, then Krishna will give us all our blessings. We will make spiritual advancement. So that it's a different outlook of life. But to develop that outlook, you must have a mood of surrender, receptivity. And that is important. But yes, we live in this society which is counterproductive for our spiritual advancement. What can we do? That will now be explained in the Bhagavatam. Because Krishna left the planet, but when he left, he appeared again as the Bhagavatam. And by hearing the Bhagavatam, we can make spiritual advancement. Even if we, especially when we hear it in association of devotees daily. And what followed in the next chapter is a great lesson of life. Maharaj speaks it that he will get cursed to die in 7 days. And then he's asking that question. What is the duty of a man about to die? That's an interesting question. That this is a question no one asks in this material world. What is the duty of a man about to die? They just don't care about that. They are just concerned with now in this life, now the enjoyment, what we achieve in this life. But this life can every moment be finished. Therefore, when Maharaj Pariksit asked this question to Sukadev Goswami, we will see further. Maharaj Pariksit will say, Sukadev Goswami will reply, Varayane Shate Prashna. This is a very good question. Krita Lokaitam Nipa. It's very beneficial for all kind of people. Everyone should ask that question. I'm going to die. I can die every moment. What's my duty? And so, yes, we live in this world. We live in a society that's not going to help us in our spiritual life. And therefore, we must live in our own society of devotees. It's very important. Our advancement depends on our association of devotees. And that is very important. And what is the answer on this question? This answer on this question is the entire Bhagavatam. But Sukadev Goswami, he first summarizes that principle, which is explained in the entire Bhagavatam in one verse. It says, Tasma Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvarohari Shrotavya Kirtitavya Shya Smartavya Sheshatabhayam. Says, O descendant of King Bharat, Maharaj Pariksit. One who desires to be free from all miseries, he must hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is a super soul in everyone's heart, and the controller of all savior, and savior of all miseries. Hear about him, and remembering him, and glorify him. So that is the process of explained in the Bhagavatam. This process is called Bhagavad Vidhi. Hearing about Krishna, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. Hearing, remembering, hearing, glorifying, and remembering. In the Bhagavatam, someone recites the verse, is glorifying, the others are hearing the verse, and then that must lead to remembering of Krishna. So that we should do constantly. Either we hear about Krishna, either we chant Krishna, chant Krishna's holy name, or we perform service. Devotional service means thinking of Krishna while you serve with devotion. So always, and that will save us from this influence of Kali Yuga. This influence of Kali Yuga is very, very strong. But in our temples is reduced. That in holy dhams in India is reduced, that influence, and we should take advantage of that. But in the time of Maharaj Pariksit, the purpose was to create. They had a society built on this principle, an entire society. And Prabhupada wanted us also to create such a society. He wanted us to create a Varnashram system and to train Kshatriyas and so on. That was there. That was Prabhupada's intention. That we, in due course of time, we would set that up, that same society. But we didn't really embark on this great task, but we hope in the future that there will be more attention to that, so that we can create a peaceful society where the devotees can live and work. That is plans, or this is, let's say, this was on Prabhupada's wish list, that we are all 6 disciples of Prabhupada, so we have to look into his mission and try to create that atmosphere and start building on Varnashram-based societies. So that is what I could say on this verse. It's a key verse. It gives it's the end of this of glorifying Maharaj Pariksit, his qualities, his birth, his qualities, his activities, his achievements. And now Maharaj Pariksit will prepare to leave this world, and that will be the next chapter. A great lesson to learn for all of us. Any question or comment? Good. If there are no further questions, I wish you a nice day and look forward to see you next week again online. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Mother.
Hare Bo.